1980s Japan, a new kind of immersive entertainment was becoming popular, a form of advanced virtual reality. It allowed the user to experience an entirely different world of their choosing. Some would find a world there that was better than their own. Some would choose to stay there and let their bodies atrophy and eventually die. They became known as Sinkers. Soon, a group of special agents were formed to go into the virtual worlds and pull people out before this could happen. In 1992, a young girl named Sayaka enters a game called Story of the Ruined Capital and disappears. 3 days later, agents Rio and Maria are sent in to retrieve her. Psychodream is a strange one. Nearly released in the US as Dream Probe, it stayed a Japanese exclusive. This side-scrolling action game is one I'd planned on covering in the future, probably a few months down the road. I would have tried to entice you with its obscurity and ask you to sound off in the comments if you'd ever played it or even knew it existed. But now, after living in the shadows for nearly 30 years, Nintendo has reached into the vault and brought this one back to light. On February 17th, 2021, it will join the lineup of free SNES games available on the Nintendo Switch online service for those that are subscribed. There are a few games being added that day that Westerners won't be familiar with, but this one in particular, I think, deserves a look. If you're familiar with the renowned Valis series, you'll immediately notice some similarities. That's because it was made by the same team. Now, that brings us to the first point about this game. It's not as refined as a classic like Valis 3, and feels like it may have been slightly rushed through the playtesters. It comes with the classic difficulty that 8-bit and 16-bit generations were known to have, so keep that in mind when you're jumping in. This game is not as kind as modern titles tend to be. You will die, probably a lot. As a matter of fact, I only really have 2 complaints about this game, and one of them is the cheap enemy placement. It's not bad in the early stages, but as you continue through the second half, it becomes more and more obvious that the increase in challenge comes from an unfair amount of damage that you take. The other, far more minor gripe I have is simply that once you have your character powered up into the max damage beast that it can become, if you take 3 hits, no matter how full your life meter is, you lose all the power-ups and revert back to your weakest form and have to start all over again collecting the power-ups. That part is definitely a bummer. Now those 2 things are frustrating, but I can overlook them for all the rest of the things that make this game worth trying. First of all, visually this game is very well done. The sprite work is detailed and well animated. Many layers of parallax scrolling are used to give the backgrounds a sense of depth and motion, and the stage design takes you through a variety of diverse locations that become more and more interesting as the game progresses. Moreover, the thing I like best about Psychodream is the weird factor of it all. This is meant to be a nightmare version of our world, and they do a good job of it. The enemy designs are creative and bizarre, and the bosses are even better. But I do wish we could see the first boss a little more clearly. It's some kind of an interdimensional being that keeps phasing in and out, and you never really get to see it with more than about a 40% opacity. But on that note, the game handles transparencies like a breeze. We haven't even talked about how the game sounds. Now, it won't win any awards for sound design, but the feeling it's trying to convey is very well done. Many of the tracks are wild jumbles of sound that bounce around the scale and convey a sense of delirium and chaos, but some are more focused and musical. These are the ones that really hit. Many of the tracks in this game feel like they could have been composed by the same people that wrote the music for Splatterhouse. Again, a good choice given the overall theme of chaos and delirium. To me, they work well with the visuals, and they're a nice addition to the game. The controls are about average. Move left, move right, attack and jump, and there's a special weapon. You can choose to control either Rio, who has a sword, or Maria, who has this whip claw thingy. You pick up gems to power up, and as you do, you'll want to make sure you're collecting the same color gem to keep improving the same weapon, because if you grab the wrong color, you'll end up with the character's alternate weapon, some kind of a laser blaster. You don't want this. It's weak, it's frustrating, and it basically leaves you defenseless. You'll notice that as you power up your weapon, your character sprite will change too. In their highest form, Rio becomes this cloak-wearing cyborg badass that shoots lasers in 6 directions, and Maria sprouts a big set of fairy wings that allow her to float down from jumps. She also fires projectiles in 6 directions, but hers are these wonderful orbs that home in on the enemies. Once you get her to this state, the game becomes much easier, and you can essentially dance through many of the areas with no damage. This form also makes the boss fights a ton easier. You can pick up Psycho Dream on an original Famicom cartridge, complete in box for about $150, or loose for about $60. There are reproduction cartridges available in the Famicom style, and also the North American SNES style that go for $20 and up, but as of today, the best way to play this is through the Nintendo Switch Online app, free to subscribers. Let me know in the comments if you're going to give this title a shot. Even if you don't like it, I think you're going to find it interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this oddity. I really appreciate you guys stopping in to check this out, and I hope you have a fantastic week.